The popular opinion out there is that the 3 years old Sony's third generation mirrorless, the Sony A7 III, is a clear winner against the second generation Nikon mirrorless, the Z6II, especially when it comes to autofocus. It is so often repeated, especially by the Sony users and Sony based YouTube channels, that many Nikon users have now started to believe it. Without a doubt, naturally, it makes complete sense that the Z6II here is obviously struggling to find the face and the eye through that narrow gap between the door and the wall. It's midnight there and there is just a lamp inside that room. But here goes the Sony A7 III racing ahead and killing it, spotting and snatching the eye in this difficult situation swiftly, without mercy and without hesitation. But wait a moment. Well, actually what struggled and gave up was the Sony A7 III, and what worked like magic was the Z6II. That too with the cheap F-mount 85mm 1.8 DSLR lens adapted to the Nikon mirrorless camera. Yes. So the Sony stuttered and stammered, huffed and puffed and gave up with that expensive 85mm 1.4 native G Master lens. If you go looking around on the internet for any A7 III versus Z6II content, you will not see anywhere that the Sony is being the second best. So I wanted to test that story out for myself and separate the truth from the myth. Here is the conclusion. First, the Sony has more custom buttons. Nikon acts a bit pricey perhaps at this price segment and reserves those custom buttons for more expensive bodies. Okay then, Nikon. Second, the Z-mount Nikons don't have as many native mount lenses as Sony's F-mount. These differences have elaborate backgrounds, but these are Sony's advantages right now. And these advantages are because of time, but not the autofocus. Let me show you more. So I tried the same tests in the morning again with overall higher levels of light. And here is the Z6II winning the scene with ease. It latches onto her eyes sideways through the slit of the door and between the door and the wall. In still a dim situation with an adapted lens, the first generation Z6 also does very well with the native Z-mount 50mm 1.8 lens. Now here goes the Sony struggling again. Give it time. Let's give it more time. By the way, the IAF and the tracking on the Sony are assigned to two separate buttons, which Nikon gave us that option already. Now the Sony does much better when you bump the ISO up and when you give it more light, of course, with a wide open 1.4 lens. Yes, higher ISOs really help mirrorless cameras spot patterns more easily. One more proof here. So what did we learn from this? First is that the Z6II's low light performance is killer already. Very great stuff is therefore expected from the Z9 now, and I demand the Z8 to be announced quickly. And the second point is that the face and the eye detect algorithms are working really well. So I think that new ZFC with the second generation software will work very well as well, and I'm quite sure of that. Now, there's this big channel named Dybrid Hooter. He shows how the Z6II is slow to focus in backlit, low contrast situations. Okay, let's see. You see, this speed is nothing. The Z6II can handle rapid, crazy focus shifts. Why am I throwing such crazy, insane, impractical tests at the Z6II again? Because I want to show you that it can handle this madness. And if it can handle this madness, then you can really be sure that this beauty is ready to do insane things for you. Just have faith. And maybe tell Dybrid Hooter to be more honest. I'm certainly doing exactly that in this video. And also asking you to subscribe right now. Do you want more faith though? Let's see how these cameras perform here. The Z6II didn't see the eye as quickly as the Sony, not from the same distance, but it detected the subject and didn't miss a single shot. But on the other hand, the Sony missed the initial few shots despite painting the face well. What did we learn again then? That the Nikon Z6II is at least at par with the legendary Sony A7 III. But I would say that it's actually a step ahead. Because you see, you can still intelligently isolate and choose an eye by using the wide L box to separate a face in a crowd of multiple faces. You have that choice, you have that control. But at the same time, Sony's always on tracker is a great thing too, and I want that on my Nikons. Look, the A7 IV will come, and it will certainly shake up the market, certainly take a leap with its real-time autofocus and whatnot. But but it was important for me to check for myself and show you where exactly the Nikon system has reached. And I think Nikon system is maturing very fast, and I can certainly tell you that it has caught up very well with the A7 III, and like I said, I think it has surpassed it. So in my overall comparison, testing these cameras out and basis the experience I had shooting these cameras, I found that the Sony is much more customizable. There is at least a bit more ease using the Sony when you set it up according to your convenience. But at the same time, I hate that the screen felt flimsy. These doors didn't inspire confidence at all. The grip was clearly inadequate, but I love the fact that you can choose from so many lenses for the Sony mount. But I was much more confident using the Nikon because it just feels solid. I'm not worried that I'll break something in this camera. I love the fact that Nikon did so well against the Sony in autofocus. Look, the A7 IV is certain to bring some voodoo science to autofocus. But we are all expecting Nikon to better the current firmware and give us a massive upgrade in the next 2 firmware updates. Maybe, just maybe, we will discover that the Z6II and the Z7 II pack the power to be quite future-proof with those 2 processors. Overall, I want you to share the link to this video to people who perpetuate this myth, this nonsense that Nikon hasn't already caught up and surpassed the Sony A7 III at least. That is not to say that the Z bodies don't need to reach the R5 and the A1 levels. Of course, they must. We'll do those comparisons soon, so do subscribe guys and check out the other videos on this channel. I hope you thoroughly enjoyed this. See you.